I'm not saying that it's the defining factor of how I'm motivated and what I want to do, but I think it doesn't make sense to deny that it exists.
The blacks' mindsets, I think, to try and unify us. And
But
that's something that you can see trying to do, or making it more of a point of what they're going through right now with the victim mentality. That's going to be hard to. That's putting us, I think, in more division.
So what do I need? Yes. Can you see the sign? So here we are, and I don't even need the mask outside anymore. It's okay. Yay. So here we are at the Lankford and Ted Cruz rally. As you see here, we've got lots of Lahmeyer signs. James Lankford sucks. Can't argue with that. And so I just want to see what it is that people care about. What is it they want to see from their elected officials? And we have some very excited Lahmeyer supporters. And so, yeah, we'll just come over here and we'll try to set up some conversations. Hopefully they're willing to talk to us, and let's see how they feel. Would you guys be interested in a little interview? Seeing, No, yeah, I got you. Okay. Let's, just so we get the sign in.
What are you interviewing for?
Well, I'm asking people what they want to see from their elected officials.
Who do you represent?
I represent poor and working class people of this state.
Okay.
I'd actually like to run for Senate. I don't stand a chance, but
conservative principles, it's easy to say, but someone who actually really believes in God, really is not afraid to talk about Jesus,
okay,
and actually implement that into our government. That's why I'm supporting him.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's my one major thing, is that we don't forget God, and Jesus is a real foundation for this country.
Okay.
I think it's why we are why we are first in the world for freedom, first in the world for help. We still have so much more that comes out of this nation to the nations in the world, because I believe we were a nation founded on God and his principles. So that's one major thing. Jackson is a pastor. He's proven it. He loves Jesus.
Okay.
But then when you get into conservatism, that should be our moral sense. That should guide us. Everything should stem from what we believe. So when he believes in God, he believes in personal freedom. He believes that less government, they shouldn't be ordering us to do what we don't feel like we should do.
Okay.
That should be our motivation in politics, is the fact that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior.
We're going over to Walmart.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
We're rounding up over there.
Hold on, let's look at this. Let me finish a little bit
Just curious if anyone wants to add to that. Is there any policies that you guys are looking for from your legislators?
We believe in murdering infants in the womb.
Yep.
We believe that, the freedom of choice for that baby in the womb, that they should have a life.
Yep. We don't believe that these politicians that are representing us are actually making that a big deal. It is starting to happen a little more by our governor and governors of other states, but we don't think that James Lankford and even now Ted Cruz, we don't feel like that they support that they're backing what we believe is right on that.
Okay. And
We want somebody who will stand for it.
We need
Right.
representatives that have a
Somebody who will
spine.
represent us up there watching these
See,
things.
Trump
So
was,
is
see
this-
this?
Bring Christian values back to
Yeah,
the
allow
White
us
House,
to have
back
our
to
own
America.
values. That they don't attack us for believing the way we do.
Yeah.
We want somebody to represent us up there.
With personal
Allow
freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah.
It's given to us in the Constitution.
Right.
To have the freedom to believe the way we do.
When you see Trump
sir.
won, this is the major number one focal point, we believe, for Jackson Lahmeyer. His number one thing he wants to take care of is election integrity.
okay,
That
so
we actually know that our vote counts.
Yes. So
So-
everybody has a vote and it counts.
Because without that, we got nothing.
So I've heard a lot about the election integrity, but I don't hear anyone talking about the corporate interests and the special interest groups and all of the people that actually pay are the people in power to do what they want instead of what we want. Is that a concern, or is it typically just ensuring that as far as making sure there's voter ID laws, or is what?
We're representing the people.
Yeah, those things are a big deal,
It's not
but
about special interest. It's about the people.
yeah, I mean, right now that's not.
We gotta get going over there.
Okay.
When we have
We're going
major
to Walmart.
conservative values, that's one thing. You want to make sure that there's you want to make sure there's integrity in that too.
Okay.
Where the money goes, where it's coming from. But the bottom line is that is an underlying issue when it comes to if we don't know what our vote counts, if we don't want to protect unborn people, unborn babies, we think that social media should rule the world and have gay rights and all this immoral activity. If that is our own, if these things aren't a big deal in conservatism, special interests and all of the money, whatever it goes, that is going to fall flat because our vote doesn't matter. We're not actually protecting the unborn, and what God said about marriage doesn't matter. These are really big values that conservatism should be more vocal about.
Okay. I know you guys got to leave. I wish we could talk more because I would have asked, as far as
we're just going to the other
policy goes.
side.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I'll just head that way as well, and hopefully we can catch up on this because I'd like to know more about policies as far as really, I'd wonder, is that the only concern as far as policy is, because there is an argument for culture wars versus, the policies, and I believe there's a difference because you can argue on the culture wars, but then never economically change anything, never change the trade policies, never change the things that the people in power, the oligarchs, actually care about, which is their bottom line, their profits.
So how do you
And
feel
so-
like that? How do you feel those two coincide, culture war and economic policy?
I feel like the culture war is manufactured. They know that, for instance, abortion is such a huge issue. It's a wedge issue, and it splits people up, and it gets people excited, it gets people to come out, but then it also stops people from talking about what they don't want us to talk about, which is the fact that everybody's bought and paid for. Everybody is basically taking their donors and then ignoring what the people say. And so
That's the rhino. That's why we were calling James Lankford a rhino.
Yeah.
That's why we're saying Trump wanted to drain the swamp because he wasn't a politician. He saw a lot of the corruption, and that's why I supported him, because he was a businessman. And I honestly, like trade stuff, I mean, all the things that I felt like he did was business oriented.
Yeah.
But draining the swamp is what we're looking for. And when we saw like James Lankford not support the president after the election, didn't listen to his constituents, what we thought was important. Supports Black Lives Matter, which we believe is a terrorist organization. Because of the culture war that they're creating has become making us more divided than we are united.
So you don't make a distinction between the movement of Black Lives Matter in response to police brutality and a particular organization? Because there's 1,000 chapters, there's, or not 1,000, but there's over 100 chapters of Black Lives Matter organized by different people.
Who is overseeing it and who leading it? They're the ones that I think are making the racial war further apart than it ever has been. Yes, there's bad white cops, there's bad black cops. The thing is, we're all created equal, though, in the sight. And if you go into teaching any person that deals with police and authority, teach them how to respectfully deal with authority, 50 to 75, probably 100% of the casualties that happen because of the lack of authority respect would be actually enforced. I know there's always a bad apple, but here's my problem is when they always just blame a certain particular group, making that the only excuse for the problem. But that's when they make it a racial problem. That's what's dividing more and more.
So your perspective is more so the racial problem is interjected into the issue as opposed to because from my understanding, Black Lives Matter came out after not George Floyd, but I'm sorry, George Zimmerman. After George Zimmerman got off. And so George Zimmerman got off, everyone was hurt, and it was really just about holding people accountable, I believe.
Okay.
And so but
At what point? Like, to what extent is it good to hold people accountable? Like we're saying.
So if we're talking about bad apples.
Let me just say, like, my way of protesting is this.
Yeah.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
Hold a sign.
Yeah.
Talk with maybe someone that doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
But peacefully.
For sure.
At what extent do I need to get my point across? When it comes to the way that they are portraying their views, destroying businesses.
But is that Black Lives
rioting.
Matter? From what I've researched, most of the people that have been charged with vandalism or terrorism during Black Lives Matter rallies were people like Boogaloo Boys. There's
Sure.
a few of them that have gotten.
It's not
like,
the narrative, though.
you know,
That's
it's
not
like-
what you really hear. So it's like January 6th.
And who
There's
controls
all
the
these
narrative?
Trump supporters, and who's controlling the narrative. So I believe it was infiltration by a professional protesting group that wanted to do damage to the White House.
So
But that's the thing. That's my opinion, because
But how many-
that's not the narrative.
and I'll also ask, how many Black Lives Matter protesters have you gotten a chance to speak with?
So not really many, I can tell you.
So in that perspective, because we don't actually get to control what goes out, it's kind of like how I think of black culture. You know, we don't get to decide as a black person. I don't get to decide what black culture is. Black culture is whatever they tell us it is. You know, it's like we don't
It
choose.
can be what you want it to be. It can
But,
be how
okay,
you
so
think it should be.
Let's assume I think
Trust
it
me,
is,
there is
but in
bad apples.
society,
But you're not just
It's
a
like-
black person.
right.
You're created equal in the eyes of God. But if you see yourself as a victim, as the way the world is trying to portray you, you're going to go at it with that mindset.
right?
But if you look through the scriptures, for instance, and say, you know, I am created in the image of God.
Okay.
He does have a purpose for me. I don't care what this culture says. I don't care what the government says. I know that I have got a purpose that God created me for. I am going to find out that purpose. I want people to know
Right.
Jesus.
Right.
No other purpose in life. And that makes them equal with me, my color, your color, what culture we're from. Because if you know Jesus, we are all equal.
Yeah.
You have a purpose. There's a great chance for you to do whatever you think God is asking you to do. I don't tell my kids, I got 5 of them. I don't tell them you can do whatever you want to do. I say you should want to do what God wants you to do. Ask Him what He wants you to do. Follow that. He'll empower you to do that.
Okay.
And if you go with the mindset like that, you're not going to be a victim. You're going to
Okay.
realize, you know what? I can do whatever He wants. The world is at my feet. I'm going, and I'm going to smile. I won't be a victim. I won't allow that media, that message to reflect my life and my view.
The only pushback I have for that is I think the idea of being a victim is placed on people after they talk about the instances where they've been victimized. And sometimes people take that and say, well, you're just being a victim, even though we're really just talking about the problems and the predatory things that happen, the corruption that happens that impact and affect our lives.
Listen, see, this is where I'm coming from as my own testimony. Left on my aunt and uncle's doorstep at 3 years old. My mom rings the doorbell and leaves. 3-year-old kid left there on the porch.
Yeah.
Head injuries, hair left off a mountain because I was dying.
Yeah.
I should not be here talking to you. A loser. Couldn't hold a job. But then I gave my heart to Jesus. And everything changed. 22 years ago, I could not do this. I couldn't have a business for 18 years. I couldn't have 5 kids. There's no way. My wife wouldn't marry me.
Yeah.
He can change everything.
Okay.
That's what is the root of my politics.
Okay.
That's the root of my wanting to be a business owner. That's the root of my being a family man. Is Jesus. that frees people. Everything this culture's trying to say is everything against it.
Okay.
So my ask for you to maybe go into the Senate and trying to get into politics and love Jesus and let everything else happen.
Okay.
That is my advice to any culture differences, to any other races. I might be white and I've got this advantage because I'm white. No, I was left for dead.
Lots of people are left for dead.
Only,
Unfortunate circumstances.
I totally, I
can
relate to them.
white privilege is just another term of saying racism exists. That's really that's all like white like
We agree.
yeah, it's not necessarily saying that you can avoid any unfortunate circumstances or nothing bad will ever befall you. It's just another way to say racism exists. Now, I see people, so many people get upset at that term. So, I don't talk about race. I mean, I have a website. Race doesn't come into it because there's so much. Honestly, it's my perspective that there are a lot of people that just don't care and they don't want to do anything about it. And so, there's and any mention of race it hurts. If for some reason it hurts people to even talk about the fact that race exists, that there are people of different colors, and we had a society that has distinguished people by race. So it doesn't affect the people in power. So my concern is corruption and, ending the corruption and then getting to the policies that will affect and change our lives. The culture war bullcrap, we can miss it. If we really wanted to talk about race, I think we would be talking about what its impact, and if there is an impact, you may not believe there is one. Okay. So some people don't think that it exists. Some people will say that,
The first black president, Barack Obama, I'd have voted for J.C. Watts, I'd have voted for Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah.
I don't care about race.
Yeah.
I do not agree with any of his policies, and I think he's further divided us since he was in power. All the white police.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think that it was just him. There was no avoiding that. I think the fact that he was black and he's supposed to represent black people, but that's just parliamentary and politics.
Doesn't matter to me.
That's good.
It's what your heart is and what you believe is what matters.
That's good. As long as you, Daniel, as long as you don't tell me I don't exist and you're colorblind, and when you see me you don't see color. I'm like, I exist. I have history. Yeah, I have a history. I have ancestors I don't know, and we have policies in this country that have affected things based on race. I'm not saying that it's the defining factor of how I'm motivated and what I want to do, but I think it doesn't make sense to deny that it exists.
The blacks' mindsets, I think, to try and unify us. And
But
that's something that you can see trying to do, or making it more of a point of what they're going through right now with the victim mentality. That's going to be hard to. That's putting us, I think, in more division.
I don't think black people control that, though. It's like going back to the culture. We don't control what the perception of black people are, because I don't control how she's perceived, or how the president's perceived, or how a criminal's perceived, regardless of their race. But we put that impetus on segments to police themselves, when it's like we're a diverse group of people. We're not a monolith. The same as Republicans. It's like, or Democrats. Like there's a spectrum. It's a two-party system. It's only so many ways you can distinguish people by race that was never accurate in the beginning. Like from the very beginning, race was just a construct to divide people and justify. Yeah,
go join my group.
I understand.
And
yes, sir. I
Daniel.
appreciate it. Yes,
I'm
sir.
Jeremy.